So this is the water review sheet, a really good way to revise, or if you've missed any part of the water topic, to catch up. So the first thing we're going to go through is the definitions of certain words that you might see in the exam. So solubility. Solubility means how much essentially of a substance or solute can be dissolved in water. So some things are really soluble, you can dissolve loads and loads and loads of something in water. Other things you can only dissolve a little bit of in water before it starts to become insoluble. Soluble then means will dissolve in water, something that will dissolve in water. Really good example of that is something like sugar. Sugar will dissolve in water. Insoluble means won't dissolve in water, or a solvent. Stuff like sand that doesn't dissolve in water. Solute, something which dissolves in a solvent. Okay, so that's like sugar again. And then solvent, a liquid which a solute dissolves in. Okay, solute is the thing you're dissolving. Solvent is the thing that you dissolve it into. So they're the key definitions that you need to know for this process. So going up to the top then, the first thing we'll start with is hard water. So what's in our water? Our water contains dissolved minerals, mainly dissolved minerals. The main two that you need to know are magnesium and calcium. Okay, you need to know the difference between temporary and permanent hard water. So temporary hard water softens after boiling. Permanent hard water remains hard after boiling. How can we tell soft water from hard water? That's an experiment again, you can watch that on YouTube. Soft water forms a lava with soap, hard water forms a scum. So anything that forms a lava, like loads of bubbles, that is a soft water. And then how can we soften hard water? Temporary, boil it. Permanent, you have to do something called an ion exchange, which means we exchange the magnesium and the calcium for sodium ions. Moving on then to the top here, another little bit of basic information about water. How can we reduce our water use? So showers instead of baths. Don't run tap when brushing teeth, and make sure washing machines are full before use. Okay, there's loads of different ways, but there's some basic ones there for you guys to remember. Moving on then to fluorination. Okay, fluorination is a bit of a controversial topic. Fluorination means adding fluorine to water. Why do we add fluorine to water? It reduces something called decay, missing or filling teeth. Okay, so that decay, missing or filled in teeth. Essentially, it helps your teeth, strengthening the teeth enamel. Why do people object to it? This sometimes comes up as a 6 marker. Against human rights, mass medication without consent, because it's essentially just coming out of our taps. It can lead to stomach cancer and something called fluorosis, which is damage to your bones. Okay. Another thing we can do to our water is known as desalination, desalination, which essentially means removing salt from water. Another word for salt is saline. Produces clean water. This is used an awful lot in the Middle East because they're surrounded by seawater, so they can't naturally get water like we can from the mountains, so they use something called desalination, which is essentially boiling the water, getting rid of all the salt and keeping the clean water. It's a very expensive process, requires a lot of energy, so loads of CO2 will be released, increasing global warming, and poor countries cannot afford it, and it tends to be the poor countries that need access to this process. Moving on then to another process we can use water for, distillation. Distillation also comes up in the elements and compounds and mixtures topic. It's the idea of separating a solution of 2 liquids. So the idea is, and the question here is, how do you separate ethanol from water? Ethanol boils at 78 degrees and water at 100 degrees. Okay, so they have different boiling points, okay, which means that ethanol will turn from a liquid to a gas earlier than water will. So what you do is you boil ethanol, it travels through a condenser, ethanol condense, and then once you get to about 100 degrees, you then know, or 99 degrees, you then know you're left with water in the one tube and all the ethanol has travelled and condensed to the other tube. Public water supply then. So there's 3 parts to public water to supply. This sometimes comes up as a 6 marker, as you can see on the past paper questions. Sedimentation, which is the first bit, slows down the flow of water, so the water is flowing quite fast, it slows it down, which allows large insoluble particles, things that haven't dissolved in the water, to settle at the bottom. Filtration is the next step then. Water is sprayed over layers of sand and gravel, so smaller insoluble particles disappear. Finally, chlorination or chlorine. Chlorine is injected into the water to sterilise it, kills microorganisms. And then finally, a little bit of information on hard water. Hard water, like we discussed at the beginning, causes scum on your cups and stuff if you try and lather it up. So what are the advantages of hard water? Some people believe the flavour's nicer, reduces heart disease, and the calcium, because that's one of the ions that's added to hard water, strengthens your bones. Disadvantages of hard water: scum forms, so it wastes an awful lot of soap, and lime scale can form on appliances when they're heated.